Let's wait another minute, and then we'll get started with the presentation. I think we've got a few more people who are joining us. So let's get started. I want to talk today about maximizing Siebel user adoption for the ultimate customer engagement. And we're going to be talking a little bit about my personal journey and the journey that everyone who's been associated with Siebel has taken on. We are very privileged today to be joined by a guest speaker who is going to provide us, I think, with some insights that are going to help us get our job done. And with that, no further ado, let's get started. Devin, could we see the next slide, please? All right, our agenda today is to talk about Siebel. We're going to talk about where Siebel is today, what the road ahead for Siebel is. We're going to talk in more detail about different strategies that you can use in your everyday job to get your job done and help you hopefully get a promotion and more lucrative opportunities in the future. We're going to do a really deep dive in terms of driving user adoption to improve customer engagement. We're also going to be talking about leveraging the user experience to achieve that adoption. Then finally, we'll have a back and forth between my guest today and myself. And then finally, we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for audience questions and answers. And with that, let's pop off to the next slide. So my name's Bruce Daly, and I've had a long association with Siebel. I'm actually Siebel certified. I've done a number of implementations of Siebel at companies like Harris Broadcast, Great West Life, Power Builder, for example. And after being trained in Siebel and after flying around the country implementing Siebel, in 1999, I founded a publication called the Siebel Observer. And the Siebel Observer really focused exclusively on Siebel, and it covered the world of Siebel for folks like yourself, for Siebel customers, for Oracle, well, in those days, Siebel employees and systems integrators and the like. And from that, I went into a career in some different things, investment banking, startup. But recently, I heard a rumor. I'd heard that Siebel was dead. And when I heard that, I said, I really have to investigate it. I really have to look into this, because there are a lot of people that saying that Siebel is in a ditch, and I wanted to find out, was that really true? So next slide, please, Devin. So here's what I heard. I heard from competitors like Mark Benioff at Salesforce that Siebel was your grandfather's CRM system. That success, and Salesforce has done an amazing job, Mark's done an amazing job, that was picked up by the investors who really said that, Siebel missed the boat in terms of its business model. Having a premise-based perpetual license model really wasn't nearly as attractive as having a subscription model, and in their evaluations of companies, they responded accordingly. Oracle, picking up on this and being the organization that it is, really decided that it wanted customers to convert over to a subscription model, to a cloud basis. And so Oracle itself, or at least parts of Oracle, have not been as supportive of Oracle Siebel as you might expect for such a large, successful product. And so finally, when it comes down to a question is, has Siebel really run into a ditch? The answer, at least for, I believe, is no. That Siebel basically was too bad to live, but too good to die. And today, over 4,500 organizations use Siebel on a daily basis. We recently did a survey of that, and we expect that, and 75% of the respondents told us that they expect to be using Siebel 10 years from now in 2023. And even though it's technology that's over 22 years old, it's still consistently ranked by Gartner and Forrester among the top CRM packages. So in response to that, I relaunched the Siebel Observer and then merged it along with some other notable blogs and created the SiebelHub. So we are responding to this gap in the marketplace by providing news, analysis, a lot of first-rate technical advice, training, events, and jobs on our SiebelHub site. So let's move on to the next slide, because I want to address some of the business aspects of Siebel. And I think the most important one is that if you're in a large institution, you're in a large organization, you need to have some way of maintaining customer engagement. And when you think about the size of a lot of institutions, they have, in some cases, millions of customers. In the case of really large institutions like Citibank, they have billions of customers. And so how can any organization of that size maintain customer engagement and keep customers continuing to buy, especially in a world that's really transitioned over to a subscription model? And the answer is customer relationship management. There's no way without an automated process that a large institution is going to be able to do that. And so behind everything else is really the idea that Siebel fuels CRM, and CRM is really the cog that drives customer engagement. So next slide, please. Now, when I went out and we did our Siebel survey, we did some research, and we really identified that every Siebel customer is following one of these 5 strategies or some variation or some combination of the 5. And they are move forward, which means keeping up with Oracle Siebel releases, which come out twice a year, and making sure that you're current with the most recent version. Generally, those clients tend to be vanilla. They tend to not have a lot of customizations in place. The opposite strategy is to move away, and that really means abandoning Siebel in favor of some other package. Now, from a career perspective, this can actually be pretty risky, because it typically takes most organizations, the systems integrators tell me, anywhere from 2 to 4 years to convert. And in some cases, like the case of IBM, it took IBM 7 years to convert away from Siebel. And in that time, you're going to have to run 2 systems in parallel. There's bound to be some discrepancies, and so that's actually quite a risky strategy from a career perspective. A more popular strategy that I'm finding is to innovate around the edges and to use Siebel for what Siebel was really developed for or envisioned for, and then if you're going to extend it into mobile devices, or you're going to use it for configuration, or you want to tie it more closely to a customer help desk, you innovate around the edges and in most cases have those products off into the cloud. And that's actually, in fact, the strategy that Oracle advocates. Another option is to just stand pat and do nothing and be like an ostrich and wait for something to change. I also think this has a lot of career risk associated with it, which we can talk about later. But today what we're really going to focus on is the 5th strategy, which is restart. And all these strategies are really outlined in our report, The Road Ahead for Siebel. So let's do a deep dive. Devin, please, with the next slide, and we're going to look a little bit more closely at the strategy of restarting. Now, there's a number of things that you can do to restart, and from a financial perspective, this is probably financially the least expensive option. And so what that says is, well, you know, when we bought Siebel, we may not have implemented it correctly. We may not have really gotten off to the right start with it. Maybe, in fact, it may be a situation where the people that made the decision to buy Siebel, the people that initially implemented it, even the third-party systems integrators that your organization worked with at the time, have all moved on. And you may be the 2nd or even 3rd generation of people to inherit this. And so the idea is that from a career perspective, this is really the safest strategy because it really involves the least risk, has the least downside and the most upside. And in order to do that, there's a number of steps that you can take to drive adoption. You can clean up the data. You can change the account plans, which doesn't involve technology at all. You can train your sales force. You can examine your business processes for ways to streamline them. But what we're really going to focus on is driving adoption through really examining the user interface and really doing a deep dive down into how exactly you can accomplish that. So next slide, please. Now, we're very honored today to be joined by an expert in that field, and that is Ilya Epstein. And Ilya is Global Director of Solutions Engineering at Knoa Software. And he's been helping customers realize value from their enterprise applications for over a decade, and most, I think, germane, really in the area of SAP. He currently leads a team that helps customers develop user sustainment methodologies powered by Knoa's unique technology. So Ilya works with customers all around the globe to develop best practices that improve applications while decreasing the cost of end-user services. And with that, I would like to have Ilya introduce himself.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very much. So today I want to talk about adoption, and especially the impact that adoption has on customer engagement. Now, before we begin, I just want to talk a little bit about what is customer engagement. Customer engagement is really not customer experience. It goes way beyond that. Customer engagement is really the ability for your customers to choose the way they want to communicate with you as a company. And more than ever before, as Bruce indicated, CRM is a critical component of customer engagement. Now, before we go further, why is customer engagement important? The reason why customer engagement is important is because it drives real benefits. Engaged customers buy more products and services. Engaged customers help improve your products. Engaged customers become loyal fans of your product, and they buy your product because they love your brand and not because of the low price point. And as we talked, and as Bruce mentioned, CRM is that critical component because CRM is the way customers communicate to you. And if you look around some of the innovations around the edges that Bruce talked about, a lot of those features and functionality that is coming out in the Siebel world is all around customer engagement, from customer 360 views to social media integration to engagement and monitoring analytics. All of that is to make CRM a critical component to the customer engagement model. But having those features is really not enough. What we see is, as with any solution, there's always three components. There's the people, process, and technology. And unless your people are ready, unless you have the processes, and unless they're really adopting those new innovations, CRM is not going to become a customer engagement tool. So how do we drive that? What are some of the challenges that customers see in terms of adoption, and what could we do about that? So if you look at some of the challenges that people have around adoption, and this applies to Siebel CRM, it also applies in the SAP space, we see this a lot. Of course, a lot of it has to do with the complexity of the system or the complexity of the user interface. So there's a lot of innovation recently from Oracle, from Siebel, as well as SAP, to really try to simplify the user interface. You also have to eliminate the complexity in the processes. You don't want to have to go through multiple applications or multiple steps when you're engaging with a customer. A lot of customers also want to go back to basics. They're trying to figure out how do we get rid of some of those customizations that have accumulated over the years that are really creating a burden to adoption and are making that customer engagement model really difficult. Siebel, as Bruce talked about, is really a stable platform. It's really a stable solution, but there's still sometimes issues with environmental changes, browser updates, operating system updates. So customers are looking to make sure that their change management processes are not going to impact a very stable environment, because that also has a direct impact to the adoption of the application and ultimately customer engagement. And more customers, especially in SAP and Oracle space, are looking to develop real user sustainment programs, not just a one-time training that you get during onboarding, but how do you have a sustainable program, which includes targeted training, super user program, and self-help documentation and self-service tools. So these are all of the factors that customers are looking when they're trying to impact adoption of their enterprise solutions. And this is exactly where Knoa fits in. The Knoa solution is the only solution that gives you full view into the actual journey of that end user experience. We monitor what the end users are doing, whether it's the CSRs in the call center, whether it's the field services teams. We see screen by screen, action by action, everything that the end users are doing from the desktop. All of that information is sent to a centralized repository, to a database in real time, and then we provide analytics and actionable dashboards and reports that really help you drive adoption. So I want to look at some of the examples. We talked about, for instance, about complexity of the user interface. One of the things that our solution does is it helps you understand which screens are really being utilized the most. How many clicks does it take for a CSR to answer a billing inquiry from a customer? How many CSRs are using some of the screens that are intended to simplify that engagement process with the customers? And what about the screens that are not being used? What about the screens and the components that are simply there but are not being leveraged during that call or during that field services engagement? So we give you 100% visibility, 100% transparency in the utilization, actual utilization of every screen and every module within the Siebel application, so that if you need to drive, if you need to improve adoption, you have the hard metrics, the hard data to help you build better communication plans, better training plans, and also help you simplify the user interface. We also help you identify complex processes. A lot of times when we speak to customers, especially in a call center environment, it's not just a Siebel tool that they're using. They may be using many different applications. And customers are looking to see how could they streamline it. How many applications do we really need to be touching during that call with a customer? How many actions or screens do we need to navigate? Can we make that process simpler so that we could answer the customer's inquiry much faster and improve the overall level of engagement? We also want to help customers to shrink the footprint of their Siebel implementation. So if you're thinking about, what Bruce talked about, restarting Siebel, one of the things you want to do is really understand what is that footprint, and do you actually need all of those components that have accumulated over the years. So we give you the actionable and real metrics in terms of adoption and utilization of all the screens and all of the different applets within the Siebel application, and especially the new ones. What about those components that we talked about, the social media components? Are the users actually leveraging them as part of their customer engagement and with a customer? The other thing that the Knoa solution does is we provide automatic baselining. So if you're thinking about environmental changes, a lot of our customers are going through operating system updates, browser updates, moving from IE to Firefox or to Chrome. And they want to make sure that when they make those big environmental changes that they're not going to impact the performance and the ability for the end users to really engage with their customers. So a lot of our customers set up automatic alerts based on the baseline, so immediately after a change comes into effect, they have some actionable insight to be able to remediate any potential issues without really impacting the adoption of the solution. And of course, user sustainment. We talked about the fact that customers are trying to develop real sustainment programs in terms of training, in terms of self-service, but for that you need hard data. It's not efficient to be doing surveys or manual assessments. The Knoa solution provides you out of the box actionable intelligence in terms of where are the end users getting stuck, which processes need better training, which processes need better communication, where could we improve our self-service. Knoa provides you all of those analytics out of the box so that you could drive a sustainment program which ultimately drives the adoption of your solution. Now, this technology is unique. A lot of times, customers will ask me, how is this different than some of the other tools that we have, right? There's a lot of, talk about user experience. The main difference about this Knoa solution is that this is the only front-end analysis tool. All the other solutions are capturing this data either on the server side, on the network side, but they're not really seeing the complete user journey, capturing the user errors that the users are experiencing. Where are the users getting stuck? Where's their complexity? Why does it take 21 clicks to pull up a customer information and resolve a billing inquiry? We provide that because we're monitoring this information right from the device, right from the end user workstation. We also support everything out of the box. So when we ship the solution for Siebel monitoring as well as SAP products, there's no scripting, there's no development that our customers have to do. And we also monitor standard functionality within Siebel as well as custom functionality. So the time to value with our solution is really, really fast. Also, all of these analytics, some of the dashboards and reports that I showed you before, they ship out of the box. So customers don't have to spend a lot of time developing the analytics. They could tap into a tremendous investment that we have made over time and leverage those analytics to drive adoption of their solution. Now, just in terms of customer successes, one of the things that we see is that our solution is really deployed and leveraged across all different industries, whether it's communication companies, whether it's utilities that are trying to improve the efficiencies of their call centers. We have multiple customers where they have achieved millions of dollars of productivity improvements, as well as eliminate the risk associated with upgrades and enhancements to their solution. We have companies in publishing industries where they were able to proactively identify issues, and they were able to actually expand the capacity of their support staff. So they were able to take the support teams and make them more valuable to the business. Bruce talked about how could, the IT people that are supporting Siebel applications, how could they, improve the engagement with their business users. The Knoa solution is one of those ways. And, hospitality or hotel chains, we see a lot of use cases there, trying to really improve the quotation processes, account management, and ultimately drive up sales. In terms of some of the benefits that we see customers achieve, adoption is definitely one of the top focuses, but there's other benefits, improving workforce efficiencies, improving productivities of your end users, making sure that you could resolve support issues, especially support issues that come in from the field or they come in from your customer care center, where it's really important to help them and assist them as soon as possible. We see customers reducing the mean time to resolution. We're seeing customers improving the proactiveness of their help desk. In the training area, using the Knoa analytics, we see customers improve targeted training programs and incorporate Knoa as part of that sustainment program. And then we talked a little bit about change management, IT transformation. So whether it's the change to the actual application, whether it's the changes in the environment, we see customers leverage Knoa as part of the metrics to make sure that the UAT testing is optimal and effective, leverage Knoa in that hypercare support, and also make sure that you have a successful adoption of the new changes that you implement. And of course, ultimately, it's about business results. So we see customers drive better engagement with customers, and then more direct business benefits, more sales, more field services calls handled, and things like that. So these are some of the benefits that we see. And Bruce, I wanted to get your input on this. This is some of the benefits that we see in SAP space, in the Oracle space. Are you seeing some of this in the Siebel space? How relevant is this to your Siebel customers?
Well, I'd have to say that, Ilya, in general, that's the number one issue that people encounter, at least in a lot of implementations, is that people say Siebel sucks. That the end users complain that it's too complicated, that they can't really use it to further their business interests, to do their job better, in essence, and that they're really struggling. And it's not always a requirement, right? If you want to be a bank teller, you can't go into a bank and say, I really want to be a bank teller, but I don't want to use your financial system, right? That's become a requirement of being a bank teller over the years. But in a lot of cases, salespeople have a lot of options. I've never seen the number one salesperson get fired for not using a CRM system. They in a lot of cases, they may not feel that they have to. They're empowered by that. On the other hand, if people use the CRM system religiously and they don't make their number, there's still going to be adverse consequences. That's just the nature of it. So I'd have to say, really, in a lot of respects, that's the number one thing that seems to hold up adoption, is the idea that Siebel doesn't work like Facebook, or Siebel is not as user-friendly as the tools that people use in their everyday life, be that Tinder or whatever. And so I would say that it's really relevant, but maybe we could turn that around a little bit, and maybe you could share with us some of your experiences from the SAP world and for other parts of Oracle. And specifically, what I'd be really interested in finding out is, what do you think are the factors that impact adoption? And I'm thinking about things such as user interface complexity. And I was wondering, maybe, Ilya, if you could share with us some of your decades-long experience in SAP with what they found and what they do to make this work better.
Absolutely. So all of the customers that we talk to, they all have some type of a roadmap to improve the complexity of the user interface. And one of the biggest challenges that we see is that it takes a long time to really understand where are you going to get the biggest ROI from that investment. It's not, a minor undertaking to redesign your application or to improve the user interface. And how do you make sure that that will achieve the maximum results for your investment? And where Knoa comes in, what we're seeing is that Knoa becomes that roadmap. It becomes the blueprint of how to go ahead and move over to a better interface. Because you really have to leverage the improvement in the interface with a lot of different factors, right? How many people are actually being impacted? How many people are using a specific screen? How really complicated is it? How many clicks does it take? How many screens do I have to navigate? Am I getting a poor performance on the application? So you have to take a lot of different metrics, and that helps you understand how to improve that user interface. And traditionally, there's no automated way, there's no systematic way to collect those metrics. So what we see is a lot of customers struggle with a lot of manual assessments, a lot of manual interviews, observations, video recordings, and that's just not efficient, and also sometimes it's not very objective. And what Knoa does in that area is that it eliminates all of that subjectivity. It gives you hard metrics in terms of where should you start with improving of the user interface. The other aspect of adoption, of course, you can't forget, is really having a robust user enablement program, right? A lot of times, customers will say, yeah, we onboard the users, we provide them, 1 or 2 weeks of training, but then they don't have any type of systematic follow-up. And a lot of it is for the same challenges because they don't have hard data. They don't have a good program for follow-up training, refresher training, self-service tools. A lot of our customers have self-service capability, but they're actually not keeping the content current because they don't have a lot of hard data in terms of where to prioritize that content. So Knoa is a great way to really help you build a robust user enablement model. We also start seeing more and more adoption of Knoa within super user communities. So super users are always involved in a new release, a new change, but what happens is, how do you keep the super users engaged beyond that project phase? How do you keep them engaged every day? And how do you really leverage them as part of your support model, right, so that you don't get a lot of tickets into the help desk around how to use a solution? So by giving the Knoa tool directly to the super users, and we see this a lot in the SAP space where the super users become one of the primary consumers of the Knoa data to help drive the adoption and efficiency of their end users. So these are some of the things that we...
Yeah, let me see if I understand this, Ilya. So what you're really saying is, you're supporting a Siebel implementation, and people are coming to you, and two things are happening. One, they're saying, this sucks. The user interface sucks, and that's the feedback they're giving you. And then two, you can tell because you're monitoring the internals of the system that you may have a really low adoption rate. That you may only have 10, 15% of the people that are actually using it on a regular basis. So I think help me understand. So if you've got thousands of users and you're getting this sort of tribal wisdom that the system is difficult to use, and maybe it's not even any more than just that. This really gives you the ability to systematize it. I mean, it's giving you metrics, and it's feeding back information that how specifically do people use these metrics that you're gathering?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is hard data, right? So this gives you data around real adoption of the application. So it's no longer about who's kind of screaming the loudest or anecdotal evidence. This gives you real metrics in terms of where are my end users struggling? Where are they experiencing the highest number of errors? Where are they experiencing a complexity of a process? Why does it take, 30 steps to be able to pull up a billing inquiry and an invoice for a customer while on the call? So we have that, credible, real data that helps you then drive remediation. So you're absolutely right. That's how we see the solution being used in all aspects, whether it's UI improvements, whether it's training improvements, and real super user engagement as well.
Okay, so let me see if I get this. So your system could tell me, for instance, here's a screen that no one has ever visited. You know, we have this screen in the system, and you know, it's an optional. You know, it has optional fields, and so people never populate them. That, you know, you've got a 30-step process that you could cut this screen out of and simplify the process. Is that how people use it in the SAP world?
Absolutely, absolutely. We see a lot of times customers simply trying to eliminate those screens that are not being used, or those screens that could just be avoided, right? Sometimes you get dialogues in a step that really don't need to be there. So can I just get rid of it? Can I go ahead and programmatically in the back end simplify that workflow, do some maybe automation, so that instead of doing those 20 clicks, you could just do it in 5 clicks. So you're absolutely spot on.
Do people ever use it in a bake-off? Do they ever say, okay, we're going to make some changes over here, we're going to roll it out to you know, a subset of our user group, maybe as part of a pilot, and then sort of see, does this actually help? Does this actually improve the process?
Absolutely. So one of the great features of the Knoa solution is that we do automatic baselining, which helps you compare the before and after. It also helps you compare 2 different user communities. So if you do want to do a quick test, if you want to do a quick test whether a specific new enhancement is going to be an improvement, you can do exactly that. You could deploy it to a subset of your population and then use the Knoa analytics to actually compare the 2 user communities and see, are they able to handle more calls? Are they able to handle more field service requests? Are they able to drive user satisfaction? So one of the things that you could do is tie in the Knoa metrics to other data that you're already collecting in the call center, like user satisfaction of a call, and see whether the improvements that you're making are having a positive impact. And it really makes it very easy and cheap to really test out new capabilities, because you now have real data to prove and see if that's something that's worthwhile to do a wider deployment, or maybe perhaps we should take a different approach.
Hey, Ilya, have you ever seen anybody take these metrics and then plug them back in, you know, use them to justify a project? You know, for instance, say, well, we, you know, streamlined this process from 30 steps to 8, and as a result, we're seeing a 14% increase in user adoption, and when we run the numbers, that translates into, you know, $1 million in additional orders. Are people ever able to use the metrics that way?
Absolutely. I'm actually seeing a lot of times when we engage, you know, especially with C-level executives, Knoa's solution is actually used to help build business cases for other projects. So other projects, whether it's, you know, improvements in user interface, whether it's improvements in different solutions on the back end, by being able to do pilots and then have quantifiable metrics on the improvement of those projects, to then try to get the budget and investment for a more wider deployment. So a lot of times the Knoa solution actually helps drive a lot of different IT and business projects, because you now have the actual data to prove it.
Wow, you know, this sounds like this would be a great tool for systems integrators. Do third parties ever use it?
Absolutely. So we work with some of the largest system integrators globally. Some of them are on this call. We also work with, you know, tier 2 integrators. The idea is that the Knoa solution enables the SIs to do their job better. So whether it's outsourcing of AMS services, whether it's helping customers develop new solutions or optimize and improve solutions, whatever types of work streams those system integrators have, the Knoa data can be a tremendous source to make those projects better. So what we usually see is, you know, SIs will try to use Knoa, leverage Knoa as a differentiator in a project, and help position a better success and a higher adoption rate of those projects, because now they can actually offer quantifiable proof to the customer that the project has succeeded, that the components that were implemented are being adopted, and these are quantifiable improvement metrics that we see before and after. And we work very closely with SIs to really not reinvent what they're doing, but help them understand where the Knoa metrics and Knoa data could help improve their service offering.
Well, I know from my own experience as being a systems integrator that you have to sell your business twice. You've got to sell the business once to get it, and then you have to sell it again to get paid. And so that seems like that might be, a real advantage in a lot of cases. And once again, to kind of tie this all up, if you look at the 5 strategies, move forward, move backwards, innovate around the edges, really relaunching is by far has the least career risk, and it also has the least risk in general, because you're not really necessarily customizing things. You're improving customer satisfaction if in fact, user satisfaction if adoption is your goal, because you can't really achieve it any other way. And so from a lot of perspectives, this is a pretty low-risk strategy, but it seems like even there, would you say, Ilya, that this helps you even manage those risks better?
Absolutely. A lot of our customers, what they'll tell us is that Knoa is almost like an insurance policy, right? A lot of customers have done, projects, whether it's a relaunch, whether it's a restart, whether it's a brand new deployment, and they didn't have any type of tool that really measures the effectiveness and the efficiency and the acceptance of the project. And, a lot of customers have learned from past failure, and they see Knoa as really that insurance policy that the next time they go live, next time they do a rollout, next time they do a new implementation or an enhancement, wouldn't it be great to actually have some real data and real metrics to be able to quickly measure the efficiency and the acceptance of the system, but also take remediative actions, right? A lot of times when you're doing these projects, you have, a hypercare period or a high alert period for maybe 30 days to 90 days where you have a lot of resources that are available. So wouldn't it be great to actually have data points during that time so that you could take very quick corrective actions and, while you still have the resources to do that, right? Because once the project is done, the resources are gone. It's too late to go ahead and fix some of the issues. So having real-time objective data during the project phase is really critical.
I can even see I could help you politically, So there's this tribal knowledge, Siebel stocks, and, you launch a project to have readoption. Maybe even, people continue to gripe, right? Because that's just human nature. So if executive management hears, oh, yeah, Siebel sucks, how did the new adoption go? Well, it still sucks. You'd have some hard facts where you could say, well, actually adoption is up 34%. And people are still griping, but they're using it, so too bad for them. Those are all my questions. We got a couple questions from the audience, and I am just let me launch into a couple of those. And okay, I think the first one is really, does implementing Knoa impact end users' day-to-day jobs?
Yeah, great question. And the answer is no. So the Knoa solution, what's really unique about this is that we collect the data right from the end user device. The data is collected through a collection agent. That agent is passive, it's very small in size, and it will have no impact on the end user efficiency or execution. It will have no impact on performance. The end users don't even know that it's running. And what's also really great about the Knoa solution is that we don't have to deploy anything on the actual Siebel or SAP or Oracle server. So, a lot of times customers are very worried about introducing a change to a very stable environment. And what's great about the Knoa tool is you're not going to touch your Siebel implementation at all. The only thing you have to do is deploy those agents to the end user devices, and that's it. And the end users will have no impact at all.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. We've got one more question. It's, do you support monitoring beyond SAP and SiebelHub?
Absolutely. Great question. And this comes up all the time, right? They love the value that we provide in SAP. They love the value that we provide in some of the Oracle applications, including Siebel. So the natural question is, can we extend this to other applications? The answer is yes. Our solution is fully extensible. This is also, by the way, where we work very closely with a lot of our partners, a lot of the SIs, where we have a toolkit capabilities, an SDK, that allows our partners to build out monitoring for pretty much any type of web application, including homegrown solutions. So if you think about a traditional call center, a lot of times they'll have a primary CRM system, but there's always 20, 30 other different applications that they're running. So very often, it's phase one. It's a phased approach. Phase one, they'll go ahead and monitor Siebel, SAP applications that we have out of the box, but then usually they'll come back and say, hey, can you instrument additional monitoring for some of the homegrown applications that we have? And we can do that ourselves, or we can do that through our partners.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I think it's been a very informative session, and I want to thank you for joining us, Ilya. That was a lot of great insight. I want to just address a couple housekeeping issues. The first is that this webinar was recorded. You'll be able to find it up on the SiebelHub as well as on Knoa's site. If you want to learn more, we've included on this last slide some information you can see at contact Knoa at info@knoa.com. Also, if you want to schedule a demo, you can do that as well through their website. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to having you join us again for future webinars. And with that, I will end the presentation.
Awesome, Bruce. Thank you so much. And actually, we just got another question from the audience. There's a question around, can the agent be pushed without the user intervention? And absolutely. There is no manual intervention that's required on the end user part. The Knoa agent is pushed through traditional standard desktop deployment tools. We support any type of desktop deployment tool that a corporation may have, so the agent can be deployed seamlessly without any intervention on the user side. And thank you for that question. And with that, I think we're going to conclude our webinar. Thank you so much. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. There's also a page on the Knoa site that enables you to schedule a demo. And thanks you so much for joining us today.